Welcome to Bomb Anime. Today we have Death Note, the live action 2017 version. Let's get into it. Big Boy Sama!
So me and Ruka are not on speaking terms right now because she suggested we watch this. I spent many years not watching this and it hit every single reason why. So Ruka, you're dead to me. It's going to be hard doing this show next to someone so evil, but it's fine.
Okay, I've also avoided watching this one. We've said this before on the channel that Death Note was just something we were trying to avoid as much as possible. But we haven't done a live action in a while. Last time we did Dragon Ball Z. Thought it might be good to just round it off, do Death Note as well.
Why are you so chirpy? Did you not?
So this was an interpretation of Death Note, I would say. Light is literally a school shooter, but with a notebook. And he's a bit of a pussy. And then it makes the use of his book seem more pathetic than the actual intention of the reason why Light was using the Death Note. Yes, they did say a bunch of times, it's for justice, it's to stop people who have committed crimes, and they threw in that sad story about Light's mom and, you know, made it all teen angst, but it just lost all of its meaning.
Light Yagami somehow metamorphosized into a guy called Light Turner. Light Yagami was intelligent, he was athletic, he was strong, he had ambitions, he had goals, and he went from A to B methodically and meticulously. Light Turner is a bumbling mess going through high school who is so smart that he can do other people's homework, yet so stupid to understand the implications of letting someone else know that he has a literal stationary tool that can end the lives of others. Light Yagami didn't love these hoes. He didn't. He utilized them to the best of his ability in order for him to carry on reaching said goals and achievements. Light Turner was a grade A simp, and I don't use this lightly because I have in the past, and I probably will continue to use the word simp lightly, but the first girl that took his breath away, he decided to divulge in the most crucial human weapon possible from jump. Light Yagami would never ever get betrayed by any of his girls. Any of them, or two. Light Turner chose the one who had more ambition than him and actually was willing to kill his dad for it.
Okay then, so I feel like an interpretation like this would have actually worked if they had gone full horror / full psychological thriller, where you don't actually know whether the protagonist has a death note or they're just a serial killer that has gradually lost their mind. I feel like that could have actually really worked. In fact, I would go as far as to say that the person who wrote the script didn't actually read the whole of Death Note or didn't even watch the full anime because it felt a little bit odd. The apples even, like, why is he eating the apples all the way through? Like, what the hell? Whatever. Anyway, I also found everything to be a little bit too overdramatic. You know, the way that he was screaming, "Don't touch her," to the bullies for a girl that he doesn't even know. And the crazed running all the time. Like, all of the running was very crazed and out of control, and there was constant screaming. I really didn't even like the scene where we first found Rook, where he was trashing the classroom and Light was screaming, and it was odd. And also Light, of course, is extremely dumbed down. He's supposed to be smart, but all the actions are to the contrary, so it's just a really confusing mess. However, I actually really liked the note that they had that was warning Light about the Shinigami, and it gave the feeling that he's done this before, he's done this a lot, and he's going to do it again. I know it's not quite the same as the original, but it's still quite nice, telling him not to trust him, because ultimately, yeah, you can't really trust him, although I feel like in the real one, he was quite honest from the beginning. He didn't really hide the kind of person he was, and Light was fine with that and accepted that.
So they decided to do a love story here. Now, I'm not against love stories in fiction. I think that sometimes it's just a convenient way of moving the story along or adding a bit of fluff so that it's not too one-dimensional or railroady, depending on what term you want to use. But over here, it wasn't really like love. It was more infatuation going on, toxicity between the two lovers, I guess. I didn't like the fact that they had not a lot in common except for the desire to cause justice and make sure the world is a better place, which isn't a bad, thing to gel over. It felt pointless to have them two fall in love, but I guess you needed a reason for her to have such a strong position in this whole movie, because there was no woman called Mia. I have no idea who this bitch
You know exactly who she's supposed to be.
I literally don't know.
You know who she's supposed to be, bro.
This brunette chick, I haven't got a clue about. Do you get what I mean? So it's alright, no worries. Mia was the kind of character that was actually, and if I look at this objectively, which was very hard most of the time, if I look at this objectively, she was a brilliant villain. Betrayal, ambition, willing to burn the world just to save you, willing to kill your dad just to save, she was a great villain, and I could get behind the ideology as well. That's cool. The issue was that they turned her ambitions and her want to actually succeed in something that actually is a good thing into something that made her into a villain. That's very weird.
What are you talking about? That's literally Death Note, but with light.
No, I get that. And if it was the main character doing it, perfect. But she was not the main character, nor was she even the villain, because technically the villain was Ryuk this whole time, causing chaos everywhere, being mischievous and laughing in the background. But I think she was written well as a villain, and she should have been given that villain title.
I thought that keeping Ryuk in the dark was a really good idea, considering how terrible his costume was. So that worked really well, and also, of course, with his constant laughter in the background and having that whole presence that's there, using the light or lack of light was also a nice choice, I thought, in the movie. But I also found the dialogue to be so dumb, and it was odd that Light trusted Mia with the Death Note from the very beginning. He didn't know her. It was so bizarre. I cannot understand this choice. However, just like you were saying, I also felt the same way. Mia was actually an interesting character. They did her so dirty in the original, so I actually thought that having her think a little bit more and be more of the sort of mastermind character was a nice choice, and it could have worked if we were watching a better movie. But we weren't.
So as I said earlier, me and Ruka are not on talking terms because she let me watch this atrocity, even though we both knew it was going to suck. Ruka, I know we don't normally do this, but this movie, out of 10, what would you give it and why?
Okay, I would give this movie a -5. Can we give minus?
No minus.
Okay, I give this, do we give zeros?
Yes.
I give this movie a 0. Light acting like his dad is the entire police force and makes all these decisions, which he doesn't, makes Light seem so immature and angsty for the sake of just having some teenage angst. They turned it into this weird sex and murder, Bonnie and Clyde, school shooters date each other saga, and it was weird. It didn't work. And could Light be any more obvious that he's the killer? What happens when you find Kira? I mean, you're a murderer, you go to jail, you probably get executed depending on where you are. It's pretty obvious, murderers go to jail. However, there was a saving grace. That mass suicide scene was great, where the police officers all jumped off of the roof. It was the highlight of the movie. They did what I couldn't. Bravo.
So, the only saving grace of this film were two saving graces for me. The first saving grace was actually Mia's character. I thought that it brought an element to the story that was predictable, but needed. And the second saving grace was most of the deaths were actually pretty cool. They were just pretty cool concepts, I should say. Not like visually or whatever stunning, but the concepts of them were actually, I thought, oh, that's alright. That's quite nice. Some were convoluted for the sake of being convoluted. So if I had to give it a score, I'd give it a 1 for that reason. Yes, a 1 out of 10.
You know what? I really liked the scene where they had all the news reporters from all around the world reporting on the whole situation. I actually liked it, and I felt like it was probably the closest scene to the anime.
Yeah.
However, when they did it in as a live action version, it didn't get diluted because I feel like a lot of the time the scenes can get diluted. We've talked about this before. Going from anime to live action is just hard. It's hard to execute correctly. And they did that scene quite well. I enjoyed it. But it still gets a 0 from me. Because even after waiting for all these years to watch it, even after me not watching Death Note for so many years, it was still a travesty.
It was very jarring watching things at times, but yeah,
the dialogue was bad.
And the characters were not the characters that I loved, to be honest.
It's 18 plus, but the dialogue was like 12 plus.
Yeah.
It just didn't match. I didn't know who the audience was supposed to be. So, guys, on that note, we out of here.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
Goodbye.
And if you made it this far, we do really appreciate it.
Going to write my own name in a Death Note.
Please check us out on Bomb Anime Insta.
Peace.